All right, so I've been having a discussion with one of my unemployed acquaintances who just found a minimum wage job, $14.35 an hour, and is asking me if she qualifies for government health benefits. I told her that the second you stop working, the second you stop qualifying for anything at all, as long as you're working a couple of hours a week, you don't qualify for nothing. Every time that I've had to ask for assistance, I have to be nearly on the street. I have to prove that I have no home, I have no money, I have no car. They don't want to give you anything. And so she's asking me, I'm like, no, you're not going to get a single drop of assistance once you touch the lowest piece of crap job that there is out there. And it doesn't matter because I didn't qualify for health insurance when I worked at Walmart. And it was, they always kept you just underneath the amount of hours so you couldn't qualify for anything. So I was a little ticked off answering those questions. And I reminded her the last time that the proletariat had it any good was during COVID. I mean, I would bring back those days of the federal unemployment and all of the other benefits for people that weren't working any day of the week. If I have to wear a mask in order to be financially comfortable and not have to work a day for the rest of my life, I'd wear a mask every day. Because if that's the only cost to being comfortable, then this society has failed everyone. Because during that time, we had enough money to live, we didn't have to work, we could eat, we could go to the doctor, and now what do we have? Nothing. We have practice. Things have gone so far backwards since that time that you're just wondering, it's like, what happened? I thought we were moving forward in a society in which we were doing better, but no, the elites can't have the proletariat sitting around on their hands, not doing anything, working the crap jobs that make them rich. And so I asked ChatGPT a question about, you know, what do we do in a situation in which we're not supposed to win? And so I started out by simply asking it a simple question from earlier this morning from Blue in the chat. And she said, you don't have to put your hand on the stove to know it's going to burn you. And so I put that into ChatGPT. It came up with its rebuttal to that. I asked it for a title. It came up by playing by the rules doesn't pay off anymore. And then it gave me these talking points. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive that we got to this point with so little information. So here we go with talking point number one. And as you guys can tell, I am really upset about doing this video because things are not going to move in a direction in which they benefit poor people in the near future. Most of us are going to go into the hole before we find anything worth living for. Anything. That means relationships, that means time off, that means owning a home. Basically, they're forcing millions of people right now into becoming homeless people, including her. She doesn't know this yet, but she's on a clear and direct path right now to becoming a homeless person. And most people that I know right now that are looking for work are most likely going to become homeless people because of the lack of opportunity in any good jobs that are out there. She's going to be homeless in less than 6 months, probably within 3 months. I can see her spending Christmas on the street because she's been looking now for more than 2 months and she's found nothing but garbage. And there's only so long that you can go and live off your savings. And at least she has savings. I have no savings whatsoever. So I have nothing to fall back upon. So take that with a grain of salt as how you feel about that, but most of us are going to end up on the street. With that said, let's see what ChatGPT had to say about my question. So these are the three talking points it generated once it did the script. I asked it to refine the script. This is what it came up with. However, for many people, no matter how much they invest in their jobs or education, they find themselves barely able to meet to make ends meet. That's me in a nutshell. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you invest in a positive life, you get nothing. And again, I'm going to tell you guys this. This is the hardest part. It is to understand for most of you who are listening to me right now. It is intentional for you to fail. You can't have that many winners. Like right now, a few minutes ago, I was at the gym and I got so annoyed that I finished doing my cardio and I walked over to the weight room and everything was taken. Everything that you want to use was taken. And that's exactly why I made that next short video. It's like, this is what's happened in our society. Everything good has been taken by the rich, and everything that's left over is left over for poor people and the proletariat who can't do anything. And for a lot of us that we end up working in retail jobs, we went to school. We're highly educated. We're capable of doing higher level jobs, but there are so few of them, and millions upon millions of people who don't want to work at the bottom. I've never met anyone who wants to work inside of a Kroger's or wants to work at a gas station or wants to be anywhere near $20 an hour. $20 an hour in our society is complete and total failure at life. Can you imagine that? If you are making $20, even $25, you're a complete failure at life. And for most of us who've lived closer to the minimum wage, especially closer to the federal minimum wage, saying that to you, that when you're making $7.25, that $25 an hour is a total life failure. You are a mushroom cloud in this world because your life is never going to amount to anything. No housing, no car, no relationship, not even the chance on the horizon that someday things are going to get better. Because once you've done so much, and this is the best that it gets. This is why I look back during the time a few years ago when the bug was around at how much better things were. Because at least at that time, they couldn't kick us out of our homes. We were getting plenty of benefits and we were eating every day. Now, what do we have? Nothing. We have the exact opposite with record evictions happening, at least here in Arizona, with record levels of crap level jobs that aren't even hiring, knowing half a dozen people that need jobs that can't get them, that are all looking in the same place. Because, when you open up so many dumpsters and you crawl around in the dumpster looking for something good to eat, and every one of the people around you also wants to get in the dumpster and look for something good to eat in there, eventually there's nothing to eat in there. And I know this from personal experience because at my job, they're hiring lower and lower and lower. They're getting to the bottom of the dumpster, and these people won't stay. That's how you know that these jobs are absolute garbage. Even people at the bottom will be like, you know what? I'm going to go look in the next dumpster because this evil corp stinks. Even Gen Zero, all of my Gen Zeros realize they show up at my job and they're like, you know what? This job sucks. And I'm like, yes, it does. Now, how long are you going to stay in this dumpster before you realize that you need to get out? And they kind of just like look at you like, are you really saying that about this place? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm saying it about this place because anyone who doesn't think that way is delusional or is been insulated from the dumpster smells for so long that they don't understand. And that's anyone in government or rich people. They don't understand what it's like for the proletariat to wallow around in the dumpster looking for a job while smelling like the dumpster. It's truly all we have left is to come out stinking and gross and covered in slime and just being disgusting. And then we walk over and we stand next to another proletariat and it's like, oh, look, you look just as disgusting as I do. Like this morning, I was driving my car back from the gym and there was a guy. I passed him on the way out and I passed him on the way into the apartment complex. And he looked like he was a guy in a really cheap suit. But then as I passed him again, I realized that this is a guy that probably got clothes from the church and he's been sleeping in a ditch in that cheap suit all night because he was filthy. I didn't notice it before, but as I came back in, he was just looking around like he didn't know where to go or what to do. He's just kind of like staring in every direction, and you're just like, oh God, that's probably a fresh homeless person because when you become homeless, it's a shock to your system, right? It is a very unnerving feeling. And I know exactly where I was the first time that I realized that I was truly in big trouble as a homeless person. I was walking under the bridge on McClintock right before Broadway Road. And I kept closing my eyes and opening my eyes over and over again. And it's like, uh oh, things are really bad for me right now because I'm not waking up. I'm not waking up from becoming homeless today. And as I walked further into the night, I walked all the way to Kiwanis Park from there, which is about 3 or 4 miles. And that's where I ended up sleeping that night because I had nowhere to go. When you become homeless, no one cares about you. That's how you end up there. And you spend night after night trying to avoid the elements from getting you. And that's how you do it. You just walk around hoping not to let the cold get you or other people get you because you're in the worst battle for survival as a homeless person that you will ever be in the rest of your life. Because it's not you're not designed to be homeless. Human beings are terrible at being homeless. And the reason why we did so well before we became a society is that back when we were hunter gatherers, there was no such thing as a single homeless man walking around in the bush. You always walked around with your family members and extended family. A single homeless person in an ancestral environment was an evolutionary disaster. And today, while I was doing the live stream, I watched part of the Mouse Utopia video. If you haven't seen Mouse Utopia, you need to go watch it on YouTube. It's an old video, but it clearly shows where our society is heading. Hatred, fighting, and then the collapse of society is a straight line down. And that's where we're at. We're getting close to the fighting and the agitatedness of daily life. And we're eventually going to head right down that cliff because this isn't sustainable. Having people, forcing people into despicable jobs because that's all that's out there. And that's even if you can get that. It's a cliff. It has to be a cliff because I don't see any progression. There is no interest in making it feasible to increase opportunities for people at the bottom. Because if you invest you're so much of your life in doing better and you can't do better, it means that there are no solutions. You guys keep asking me in the comment section, well, what's the solution? There is no solution. There's going to be the rich and there's going to be the poor. And the poor are going to have to fight among themselves, eat each other, tear each other apart in order to survive. That's all that's out there right now. And if you think that I'm exaggerating that point, look at all the people around you who are heading towards homelessness because they can't find a better job or any job. All right, talking point number 2. Those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, even when they follow every guideline, often struggle with job instability, low wages, and limited upward mobility, creating a cycle that's hard to break. I'm going to add another layer to this to ChatGPT's reply here and say impossible to break. Systemic poverty is impossible to break. There aren't enough upward mobility situations out there for the proletariat to win. And this is not me. This is an algorithm. This is an artificial intelligence telling you that you're absolutely screwed because there is no way out. Even with immense effort, it takes a great deal of luck. And we know, you know, and I know that lottery and poverty rhyme because they equal the same thing. And that's the system we're in. We're in a lottery system to get out of being poor. And most tickets are going to be loser tickets. All right, my final talking point, because I don't want this video to get to 20 minutes. I'm just too angry doing this video right now. Traditional paths to success failing many. There's a growing need to question and reshape what's making it actually means. From starting a side hustle to building skills outside traditional education, there are ways to create a more self determined path, challenging the old rules and finding new ways to achieve financial independence and personal fulfillment. Well, every time I ask ChatGPT, why can't I be rich or how can I be rich now? It's my money, I want it now. ChatGPT gives me the same stagnant answers that you can't do this overnight. You must invest in real estate. You must uh, do other things. You must have passive income. And the big one is you should already be rich if you want to be rich. There is no clear path towards escaping this, the daily reality show of you failing minute by minute and getting closer and closer to the abyss that we call homelessness. Because when there's so many resources in our society and so few available to the proletariat, I mean, when I have to live in this place with what I make, I mean, can you imagine if I made half of what I made or a quarter of what I made, where I would be? It's in the gutter on the side of a bridge, wondering if I'm going to make it that night. That's where you'd be because the traditional paths towards success aren't working. In fact, they're failing miserably. And I see it every day because remember, I work at a school. I don't work in a place a traditional place. I work as part of the corporate office at a school, and I'm seeing it failing from my perspective. And you guys may think, oh, you're just biased. No, I get to see it from the top. I'm looking down and I'm watching people fall off a financial cliff in real time. That's why I make these videos, so that you will also realize that you're falling off the financial cliff. And believe me, there's no social safety net. They may tell you all of these beautiful lies, like the way that religion likes to talk about heaven and how great it's going to be. But a lot of you are going to heaven and you're going to find out that even heaven has no social safety net. That you're going to get there and you're going to be like, you know what? This sucks. The irony of it would be that if you made it to heaven and heaven was just a giant plantation that God runs. That's what I imagine a heaven for the proletariat is. You get done working in this life and you got to go work in the next life for the rest of eternity at a low level job doing some back-breaking labor where you never age and you never get to sleep and you never make enough money to escape. That's the hellscape that I see. That's why I create dystopian entertainment, so that you know that the getting's going to be good and you are going to be the getting. And as much as you rub your tushy because you think that it's not fair, the elites don't care. The elites don't care about the problems of the poor because the problems of the poor aren't real problems. As I've said that a million times over 18 years, the problems of the poor aren't real. Because if the problems of the poor were real, we would have addressed them already. But instead, we just look the other way at we can't see the invisible masses piling up taller and taller every day of regular people failing at life because that's all they can do. You can only put enough effort into trying to be successful up to a certain point, and then you have to ask yourself this question. I did everything right. I did the right things. I worked for the right company. Why am I in the gutter face down? Because that's where you're going to realize that it's over. When the screen fades to black and your face is in the gutter, that's how you're going to know how successful you were meant to be.